Oh, baby, it's the comeback of the century. No matter how many times they try to knock him down, he's back. He's the phoenix that keeps getting reborn. Frankly, the cockroach that survives the nuclear apocalypse. The entire weight of the world on his shoulders, the entire legal apparatus, formed into a cannon aimed right at him, point blank. They keep firing. A big, explosive blast. A flashing, blinding light. An immediate bone-shaking shockwave, followed by a dark, daunting smoke cloud. And as it dissipates into the blue sky, revealing the damage, Donald Trump simply stands there, like an immovable object, totally unscathed, every time. You know, it probably has something to do with the Democrat massive big cannon is really just all for show. It's a big, red, bold, painted cannon, but it operates essentially like a Nerf gun. It's all a Hollywood effect, meant to cast aspersions on the former president. But no matter how much dramatic theater we get from the Democrats, the same outcome keeps repeating. Trump is getting more powerful, becoming more culturally normalized. He's not the fascist exile that they so desperately wanted to cast him as. He is rising like we have never seen before. Let me continue to make that argument with a bunch of clips, a bunch of data. We got some stuff to get into. So let's roll the tape. All right, so enough with the dramatic intro. I want to focus on one specific thing that we've been talking about lately. The concept that I keep bringing up, the sort of normalization of Donald Trump. It's the one thing I think Democrats are the most scared of. They want so badly to cast Donald Trump. They want to paint him in a certain way in an effort to sort of force public opinion in a certain direction. The last thing they want, demonize, demonize, demonize. Make him toxic, untouchable. If you even say the words, well, I think Donald Trump did all right in this specific category, you are a 1940s German soldier. That's the dynamic they want to create, that divisive, horrible, despicable dynamic that's kind of been the norm as of late. But what happens when that illusion falls, when the haze clears, when people start to see Donald Trump not as this horrible fascist attempting to take over government so he can lock up Latinos? It's hard to even say that because it's so ridiculous, but some people essentially believe that. But as just a person, or the scariest to Democrats, as a patriotic American businessman who wants to right the ship, undo the Washington deep state status quo. What happens when people start to see him as just another human being with some ideas that may be interesting? Well, that's the normalization of Trump. That's when Trump becomes culturally normal and acceptable. And in a video prior, we spoke about this, how all of a sudden you see people in Hollywood willing to endorse President Trump or reverse their stance or even adopt a more neutral stance. You know, there's the complete psychos like Robert De Niro who's going to go on Bill Maher's show and call Donald Trump a monster. He's a monster. But then there's also the Snoop Dogs of the world who back in 2017 jumped straight on the anti-Trump bandwagon. But nowadays, publicly to the media, Snoop Dogg is very thankful and appreciative of Donald Trump and even says that he has nothing but love for Donald Trump. You never would have seen that back in 2020. Now all of a sudden you're seeing it. Even big Wall Street guy Jamie Dimon a couple weeks ago said this.
But I don't think they're voting for Trump because of his family values. Now, if you look, just take a step back, be honest. He was kind of right about NATO, kind of right about immigration. Mm-hmm. He grew the economy quite well.
China virus.
Tax reform worked, but he wasn't wrong about some of these critical issues. And that's why they're voting for him. And I think people should be a little more respectful of our fellow citizens. I agree.
It's done quite well.
And, the Democrats have done a pretty good job with the deplorables, hugging onto their Bibles and their beer and their guns. I mean, really, could we just stop that stuff and actually grow up and treat other people with respect and listen to them a little bit? And I do think the economy will affect. And I think this negative talk about MAGA is going to hurt Biden's election campaign.
And then this week, one of the world's most powerful bankers, Ken Griffin on CNBC, said this.
Sarah Eisen speaking exclusively to Citadel's Ken Griffin in the last hour. Griffin, a backer of Nikki Haley, did not officially confirm he will be backing Trump in the U.S. election, but he did have this to say.
Do you think Trump's going to win?
Right here, right now, elections tomorrow?
Yeah.
He wins it. But we'll be up late. I think for investors overall, a Trump administration's good for our capital markets. It encourages the sense that government's aligned with you and not opposed to you.
You can watch the full interview on CNBC.com.
Funnily enough, Chris Cuomo actually said the same thing.
You know, this guy's going to win, by the way. This guy's going to win. I've never seen people behind someone like this before. I've never been to rallies like that before. For anyone. Obama didn't even have rallies like that.
And so all of a sudden the tone, the feeling of this election changes drastically from what we've seen in the past. Trump doesn't seem to be perceived as the monster that the media wanted him so desperately to be. It feels almost as if this is the logical outcome of all of these indictments. When you essentially cast somebody into martyrdom, they made Trump seem vulnerable. They made Trump seem weak, in the sense that one man cannot take on the entire federal government. But they weaponized the federal government, machine versus man, and now all of a sudden people have sympathy for Donald Trump. Not a good idea to overplay your hand, especially when the left is kind of losing the culture war. You know, kind of an important thing. You Democrats lost control of Twitter right ahead of an election year, and now you have Elon Musk tweeting this video, which already amassed nearly 40 million views as I'm recording this video. Just take a look.
I would vote for Trump before I'd vote for Biden, just because I think with Biden, like, he's gone. Like, you know, he's gone. You're going to be relying on his cabinet, and I knew his cabinet would be this sideshow of diversity, and which is exactly what it is. You can't have those kind of people running a Ben and Jerry's. You certainly can't have those kind of people running the most powerful government the world's ever known. It's nuts. It's not.
That gets posted publicly to millions of people on Twitter now from Elon Musk's account. Probably one of the most influential people to ever live. Yeah, you know that something is shifting, and it's shifting fast. Let's quickly get into some data. You know, earlier I was talking about how Trump, in a way, is a victim. And I don't mean that in the cringe way, like playing victim. I mean literal victim of government overreach and weaponization, and how that seems to be drawing people to him. Well, the data seems to back that up, especially with specific groups. American politics is going through a racial realignment, with non-white voters shifting away from the Democrats and towards Republicans. Non-white American vote intention in pre-election polls for presidential elections. Take a look at the number moving into 2024. This right here is the visual representation of a realignment. Latest polls show Democrats going backwards faster with Black and Latino voters than any other demographic. Just take a look at the chart here. It tells the story visually. The same trend shows up in Gallup's long-running poll series, and this one's probably the most interesting. The income divide in U.S. politics is almost closed, and the richest now favor the Democrats over Republicans. In other words, the Democrats have officially become the party of the rich, the party of the 1% top elite, and thanks to Donald Trump, the Republican Party is becoming a grassroots movement that seeks to represent the little guy. It's kind of ironic how a New York billionaire could end up representing the little guy's interest, but here we are. I guess the Democrats showed you that whether or not you got billions in net worth or you're broke as broke can be, at the end of the day, we're all equally powerless to government weaponization and government tyranny, to a corrupt double standard of justice. Donald Trump all of a sudden has become relatable to people who feel frankly powerless. Like I said, we're seeing the normalization of Trump. It's the Democrats' worst nightmare, and the best part of it is the Democrats did it to themselves. We might actually be seeing the rise of a new conservative era. Not the crony capitalist neoconservatism of the past, but a new movement that's more all-encompassing, that seems to even be appealing to the working class and those at the bottom of the economic scale. The same people who 10 years ago would have told you that the Republican Party is just the party of rich white capitalist people are now all of a sudden kind of shifting their perspective. I'm calling it the normalization of Trump. It's a good thing. It's cool. Now, all you really need to hope for is that the RNC doesn't come in and screw things up. But with Mitch McConnell on the way out and new leadership at the actual RNC, it seems like that's unlikely to happen. In other words, good news on good news. That's what I got for you guys on this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.